meantime also talk about when it comes to US corporates. There were earlier reports of what happened with the Amazon Web Services facility in Bahrain, and now what is being said that the Oracle facility in Dubai that seems to have been hit. The Dubai Internet City. Shrapnel seems to have hit the Oracle building in Dubai. Dubai authorities, however, has confirmed this to be a minor incident and said that they have intercepted shrapnel that seems to have hit the Oracle facility facade. And Dubai media office seems to have been saying that the area is secured and no injuries have been reported. So, Mayank, good morning. Iran now seems to be walking the talk. As far as Oracle is concerned, because yesterday news reports came, which the Dubai media office termed it to be as fake news, that the Oracle office has been hit in the UAE. Now it is confirming the news to say that it was a minor incident and the area is now secure.
So even if minor, the message is clear. That is more important in this case of war, actually. So messaging makes a major effect, even more than what a explosive can make. And media plays an important role in this regard only. And a credible media does a bigger effect. Now coming back, I am just worried that the kind of flurry effect it might trigger to the sense, to the, in the way that the allies which are in the region, they might have to bear the brunt of this entire warfare, because Iran has proven time and again that they were able to ingress the security zones and the bases of the US military, which were naval bases, air bases, logistic bases, administrative bases, headquarters, which is like Fleet 5, 5th Fleet headquarters. So you can make out that if Iran is saying that at least in this region, they'll be able to hit the areas. The important discussion which had started after few desalination plants were hit. Understand, and for the viewers also, generally the requirement of the potable water is met through the desalination plants only. So the kind of issues which might trigger gradually, it is not just human rights and all, it would create mayhem in a different manner for the people, because, thirst, water can create major problems. Because if Iran is saying that bridges were hit, they'll start triggering the devastation into the areas which might pull the enemy side, which in this case the US and all, into their zone of agreements. So this could be a sort of a messaging, as you already said that the effect of shrapnels were in Dubai,
yes.
As far as Oracle facility was concerned. Messaging, what I mean to also bring out Dimona, state of Dimona, the place of Dimona, which was close to the nuclear facility while Iran had hit, saying and touting in so many words that they had hit the area.
Yes.
Because Negev research facility, which is Israel's nuclear facility, was hit because Iran said that Israel and US had hit their research facilities, which their nuclear facilities.
Right.
So is it going to trigger a different kind of a warfare which will be difficult to safeguard, because you create umbrella of air defense on military bases, on defensive equipments and military bases, not on the bases, on the places or zones or economic areas and water desalination plants.
Because this war seems to be expanding, especially when it comes to civilian infrastructure, not just as far as when it comes to the countries involved, but indirectly when it comes to the adjoining countries that also seems to be in a way involved, that this provocation, remains to be seen how long will it now last. Is it in a way that they too be finally dragged into this war? And will this escalation, go about in a wider regional escalation? Well, that remains to be seen. Please to stay on with us, Mayank, because the effective weapon that Iran has been using till now is the Strait of Hormuz. And even when it comes to turning the world's most critical energy lifelines into a geopolitical flashpoint, with this kind of strong rhetoric coming from Washington and a clear push for diplomacy from France as well, the divide in approach seems to be now becoming more pronounced. So what President Trump has said, because ramping up his rhetoric on the Strait of Hormuz, suggesting that a little more time The passage, however, could be opened and its oil resources lap for major economic gains. But in a striking set of remarks, President Trump says that the U.S. could have easily opened the Strait of Hormuz and taken the oil and would have made a fortune. Is he now making a reference to what he did in Venezuela at the start of this year? Because he has now been describing as a gusher for the world. But let's talk about the French president, because he's done something which President Trump could not. He's now taken a contrasting stance on the Strait of Hormuz, backing diplomacy over military action amid rising tensions. So let's take a look exactly when it comes to the reactions that has been coming in, what President of France has been saying while being on an official visit to South Korea being another US ally, but has also been gravely impacted because of the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz.
Nous avons abordé la crise au Moyen-Orient, les conditions d'un processus de désescalade et les conditions dans un cadre international clairement établi, une déconfliction étant négociée avec l'Iran, une réouverture du détroit d'Hormuz. Nous avons également défendu la paix juste et durable et le respect du droit international, et je veux dire notre convergence de vues, qu'il s'agisse de l'Ukraine face à la guerre d'agression russe, ou qu'il s'agisse aussi de la paix et de la stabilité dans la péninsule coréenne. C'est la même vision que nous défendons.
So after those comments from the French president, it looks like France has made its way, to be on the good side of Iran, as a French-owned vessel for the first time has crossed the Strait of Hormuz, marking a notable development amid the ongoing tensions. Because the ship, which is Kribi, completed its transit on the 2nd of April, becoming the first French vessel to pass the Strait of Hormuz and is said to be en route since when it comes to the conflict that began on the 28th of February. So let's talk about when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, this very narrow waterway has had global consequences. Why are we talking about? Because the traffic that has been impacted, and even when it comes to Indian vessels, some of them are still stranded in the Persian Gulf. But there has been, as Iran has been saying that India is a friend, we're looking at several of our tankers as well that have also safely made their way back home. So what are we looking at? Before the war, we are looking at more than 100 plus tankers usually used to pass and used to transit from the Strait of Hormuz. After the war, while shipping firms that have paused and rerouted the operations as well, insurance companies don't seem to be willing when it comes to taking that very risk of having their vessels pass through the Strait of Hormuz, because we've seen those pictures. Anyone who is an ally of the US and even US-operated ships as well, though, however, it's rare for them to use the Strait of Hormuz, have come under attack by the Iranian authorities. Let's get you another breaking update. US intel seems to have flagged Iran's Strait of Hormuz strategy, saying that Iran will not ease the Strait control. Why? Because it is now using it as a key leverage, because Iran has now tasted power and it will not back down. Patikrit, good morning. It seems that whatever President Trump's been saying, it's completely the opposite that seems to have been happening in Iran, because the dominance over the Strait of Hormuz is something that Iran has weaponized for its own benefit.
Well, I think Iran has, over the last 1 month, realized the critical importance of Strait of Hormuz, that the fact that its asymmetric warfare capability in terms of thousands of gunboats can, wreak havoc in that place, to the extent that America itself is very uncomfortable sending its own warships in the backyard of Iran in Strait of Hormuz, shows that how challenging it is to, guard that area. However, I think the Iranians have been intelligent enough in the last 1 month to create a clear distinction between any ship which is coming from America or Israel vis-a-vis the rest of the world. And that's why we see even the French and many other NATO countries are clearly distancing themselves from these operations, because they know that Strait of Hormuz is an area where it's not just the Iranian oil, but the oil from all the Gulf nations actually originate from. So overall, if you look at it, Iranians, in spite of the initial setback in the conflict in terms of major leaders of theirs getting killed in air operations, have somehow been able to salvage back quite a bit in terms of the missile attacks they have been doing, the horizontal escalation. We have seen in the recent past in the last couple of days, some major American fighter jets have been downed. And Strait of Hormuz is something which American president, in spite of his tall claims, have not been able to make any kind of impact. It is on the contrary, the ships of India or warships of other countries who are actually escorting their own individual respective ships out of that place. And Iran is ensuring that no other country's ship gets impacted or the supply chain gets impacted. So I think it's an intelligent strategy that Iran is taking, in spite of knowing that countries like India are very, very close allies of
Because reports have been
Israel.
warning that Tehran may continue to keep that pressure on, especially when it comes to global energy markets, to force for a quicker end to the war. Iran says, well, we will set our own terms and conditions. Thank you very much, Patikrit, for your point of view.